Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. CZ, who is the founder and CEO of Binance, which is the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume, had what I would say is a concerning interview on CNBC yesterday. And look, I've seen CZ in interviews for the last several years. He is, he's direct, he's to the point, he answers questions. Historically, that's what I've seen from him. He doesn't beat around the bush. He's confident in his answers. And I saw completely different CZ for the first time in this particular interview. And I want to be clear here at the outset. Like, I am not making allegations whatsoever that Binance is insolvent or that they misappropriated customer funds. To be clear, I see no evidence of that whatsoever. But after you just watch this whole video, and after you have all the information, and you can go watch the interview for yourself too, after you have all the information, you tell me that CZ's responses in this particular interview were reasonable, made sense. Because I'll tell you right now, that's not true. He was indirect. He refused to answer questions that frankly should have been very simple. This is not the CZ I know. He is acting different. He is not answering. And some people are saying, yeah, English isn't his first language. Like, no, don't give me that. No. He knows how to speak the English language. I've seen him again, like I said, in many interviews. I don't know what's going on here, but he's saying stuff. Some of the stuff he said he has to know isn't true, in fact. And I'll point out why as we go through the video. Like, I am as close to 100% certain on that as possible, especially as it has to do with auditing firms, crypto firms, proof of reserves and all this stuff here. But if there's nothing to hide, if there's nothing to hide whatsoever, you just answer the damn questions. So again, I'm not asserting that this is an FTX-like scenario. In fact, I'm not convinced that's the case because I have no evidence that would make me believe that is the case. But what I am saying is this behavior is peculiar. It is curious. And we should be asking why. We should remain vigilant, especially in times like these when markets are down. Absolutely, we should. I think that's perfectly reasonable, in fact, responsible. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, I want to start by highlighting part of this article from CoinDesk. It's just titled, Binance Proof of Reserves Auditor Mazars Pauses All Work for Crypto Clients. And I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. It could be Mazars. I don't know. I'm just going to go with Mazars because I haven't heard it pronounced ever. But that this firm audited, and I said this several days or so ago. Yes, they've been audited, happy that we're heading in this direction. But it's one of those situations where it's like garbage in, garbage out. Whatever information you feed to the firm doing the auditing, they can only report on that. So you give them whatever data would result in the painting of a nice picture, and voila. It's the same thing that you see in the United States with the Congressional Budget Office. Oh, how much is so-and-so going to cost? Whatever the bill at hand is. What's that bill going to cost us? What's this legislation going to cost us over the span of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Well, you feed them a bunch of information that could only result, because the Congressional Budget Office can only report on the information provided to them. And so if you have incomplete information or false information or anything of the sort, then what do you think is going to happen? And so it's similarly here. And this seems to be the reason that Mazars ultimately ended up removing support for Binance, because they didn't want people to misconstrue what their reports after doing an audit say, because their audits did find that there was sufficient backing, at least 100% of assets. But that's not everything. So if they want to really rubber stamp this thing, they would need a whole lot more information, which apparently they don't have. So let me go through part of this. Mazars, the auditing firm working with Binance and other crypto exchanges on proof of reserve statements, has paused all work for crypto clients, Binance said in an emailed statement, and Mazars confirmed to CoinDesk. Mazars has indicated that they will temporarily pause their work with all of their crypto clients globally, which include Crypto.com, KuCoin, and Binance. Unfortunately, this means that we will not be able to work with Mazars for the moment, a Binance spokesperson said. The suspension was reported earlier by Bloomberg. Mazars said in an emailed statement that it had only paused its work for crypto firms relating to proof of reserves reports. This is due to concerns regarding the way these reports are understood by the public, the company said. Mazars added that its proof of reserve reports, quote, this is a quote from Mazars, do not constitute either an assurance or an audit opinion on subject matter. Instead, they report limited findings based on the agreed procedures performed on the subject matter at a historical point in time, end quote. So there you go. This is why I translated it before even reading it to you. Again, do not, the proof of reserves here, they're stating, yes, proof of reserves. That's based on the information that was handed over. This is not an assurance. This is not the same as what you can do, as what you could get an assurance with an additional level of transparency, effectively. This is not an assurance. Mazars is saying that. And so they're concerned that the public is misunderstanding the report there, because it is, I think largely it is being understood by the public as, oh, everything's fine, proof of reserves. Okay, but what does that mean? What was actually considered? And Mazars is like, whoa, we see how the public's reacting now. We don't want to rubber stamp this thing. That's why they're doing what they're doing. It's not that they couldn't if they had sufficient information. Same as what happens, like I said, with the Congressional Budget Office here. So, and then there was also this, and again, like I do not think that this is, I'm going to say it again, I do not think this is an FTX-like scenario, because there's no publicly available information that I think would make it reasonable to believe that. But that is why CZ's responses to very easy interview questions is mind-boggling here. But I'll highlight this further, and I'm going to break that all down to you in just a second, so please stick with me here. But I wanted to highlight this also. There's this article from the Daily Huddle. Here's how Binance's Bitcoin and stablecoin reserves compare to FTX's before the collapse. Quant analyst. So there's a Ki Young-ju, who is, I forget what his title is. He's a chief executive of on-chain insights platform CryptoQuant. There you go. He says that this does not look like an FTX-like scenario. So happy to report that again. It's okay to act like these things are not mutually exclusive. It can be the case that Binance is not in even remotely the same situation as FTX, and it's still okay to say, hey, CZ's acting a little weird. These things are not mutually exclusive, just to be super duper crystal clear here. And so Ki Young-ju points out that, and this quote right here that I'm highlighting, I don't feel I need to read all of this stuff here. And then here, piece reads as follows. Ki Young-ju says Binance's Bitcoin and Ethereum reserves also look normal. Quote, people are asking me if Binance is fine. Their Bitcoin reserve dropped 8% over the last 2 days, but plus 24% up during the FTX bank run last month. There might be things to be clarified for regulation, but I don't see any shady on-chain activities right now. So again, happy to acknowledge that this isn't the same thing here. So it sounds like, what was happening a month ago, that was even worse in terms of a stress test. And CZ continue to insist, and that's fine, that all assets are backed one-to-one. He says that, but that makes this interview all the more peculiar. And there are some clips of it shared by somebody who I wasn't familiar with named Alan Watts here. And it resulted in one of the hosts, Becky Quick on CNBC's Squawk Box program, rolling her eyes because she just couldn't get a damn answer out of CZ. And it was a pretty simple question. And there were multiple questions, and there were 3 hosts on here at least. There was Andrew Ross Sorkin, who recently, you may recall, he interviewed Sam Bankman-Fried before he got arrested. Then there's also, I believe the guy's name was Joe Kernan. And so, look, this video, this is the most alarming interview with Binance CEO CZ in history, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen anything like that. Like I said, I've been seeing him in interviews for years. This is a different CZ, and I don't know why, because... And I don't think he didn't seem like he's fatigued or anything. He was able to formulate sentences just fine. It wasn't like that. It was just that he wouldn't answer questions. And so, look, again, I have no evidence that Binance is insolvent or misappropriating user funds, nothing like that. And so, again, I'm not making any such assertions, but I am saying that this interview was extremely alarming to me, and it does not pass the smell test. And so the question is why. We should be asking why. That's my opinion. And so CNBC host Becky Quick asked if Binance would be financially okay, that's a quote, financially okay, if regulators seek to claw back $2.1 billion from Binance as a result of the FTX collapse. And CZ didn't say, yes, of course we have those. Yes, it's fine. Nothing like that, not even close. He said, He said, we're financially okay. That's an indirect answer. It's like you say something in response to it, but you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question. You're normally a direct person. This should be an easy question to answer. Why didn't you just answer the damn question? And this is just one. There are several things throughout this interview. I'm going to highlight all of them. This is the first one I wanted to talk about here. He says, we're financially okay. And so Becky then pressed CZ further and asked, quote, including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw it back, you'd still be fine, end quote. And at this point, CZ said, and I quote, we'll let the lawyers handle it. We're financially strong, end quote. He wouldn't, how hard would it be to say that? And look, I mean, I've thought about this. I mean, you could try and argue like, it's FTX, or I'm sorry, it's Binance's funds. If something happened to them after, this is what makes me wonder this actually. I don't know if this is it. We can only speculate, and so I'm willing to do a little bit of healthy, reasonable speculation here. But it's like if you're talking about, Binance's holdings, which is separate from the customer funds. If you're just talking about Binance's holdings that they got from FTX, what did they do after they got all of that back from FTX? Because the concern is, what if that's clawed back? That's the concern. What if that's clawed back? And what did Binance do with the funds in the meantime? Did they appropriate them in such a way that they're worth less in terms of United States dollars, or more in terms of the United States dollars, or the same? And so, this is the point, though, because again, he didn't give a direct answer. This is the point where host Becky Quick rolled her eyes and the broadcast went completely silent. Now, Andrew Ross Sorkin ended up jumping in and pointed out, thus far, Binance hasn't disclosed their liabilities. He asked why not, and whether they will disclose that info in the future. So pause here. And this is why, in terms of proof of reserves, and this is why I'm doing this in the order that I did it, proof of reserves and the on-chain activity, it's being reported and pretty well accepted. Nothing looks fishy. I accept that. What about the liabilities? To what degree is that crypto in your control, or yours even? Why don't you prove it? Because he keeps insisting there's no liabilities, then prove it. It shouldn't be that big a freaking deal. It's not like you're giving away trade secrets here. This should be easy stuff, and this is why I'm saying I don't understand, if nothing's wrong, why he won't say that, which is different than me asserting that this is an FTX situation, which I am not doing. So again, Andrew Ross Sorkin, we're at the point where he ended up jumping in and he pointed out that thus far Binance hasn't disclosed their liabilities, and he asked why not. And whether they will, whether they will disclose that info in the future. Now, CZ dodged that question too. He dodged it, stating they're already working with auditors. Choosing to not answer, already working with auditors. Well, I just highlighted that, Mazars, at the outset of the video. And then Becky Quick, jumped back in and asked, well, why not get one of the big four auditors to come in and say that their liabilities are not an issue, meaning Binance's liabilities are not an issue. Why not get one of the big four auditors out there to come in and make that statement, right? Shouldn't be an issue. I mean, this is the world's second largest cryptocurrency exchange, right? You think that if there's no problems here, one of the big four firms would be happy to jump on board, right? And so she pointed out that it shouldn't be a problem to do so if there are no financial concerns. And she pointed out that if none of the big four auditing firms are willing to state that there are no issues, that would be telling in and of itself if they won't even work with Binance. If they started to look into it and before coming to a customer agreement with them, they're just like, no, we can't do that. That would be telling though. It's like, what is it that we don't know? Because again, if you look on chain, everything looks fine, honestly. But so what is there that we don't know? Why is he acting weird? These are perfectly reasonable questions. I'm telling you, this behavior isn't normal. And if there's literally nothing wrong and he's not actually hiding anything, why is he going to such great lengths to not answer very simple, reasonable questions? These are not gotcha questions. They are reasonable questions that any CEO of a cryptocurrency exchange should be able to answer. That's why I just don't get it. And most people can see this. There's some people, like I was tweeting about it, and like some people are pushing back against me. And it's fine. I like the back and forth. It's fine. But don't tell me that I'm being unreasonable by acknowledging that CZ is behaving abnormally here. I know he is. I don't know why. There's something strange here. And so, she said, Becky said, if Binance doesn't have the files and the data that would make one of the big four auditing firms feel comfortable, to give their stamp of approval, that's concerning. And CZ dodged this question too, and he provided misdirection. He stated that many auditing firms don't know how to audit crypto firms. So again, she brought up, why not have one of the big four audit you? And then he pivots to, well, a lot of firms don't know how to audit crypto firms. And host Joe Kernan then jumped in and pointed out that he believes Coinbase does have a big four firm that audits them. And that was correct, by the way. Deloitte audits Coinbase. But here you have CZ, the CEO of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, dodging that question also and trying to convince viewers that auditing firms just don't know how to audit cryptocurrency exchanges. Even though, one of the big four, Deloitte, is auditing Coinbase. Even though Tezos is audited by PricewaterhouseCoopers. Even though. So still, CZ insists that, Binance backs all customer crypto on a one-to-one basis and does not have loans. Right? So then why the reluctance to prove this? To prove it makes no sense. I mean, Becky Quick also asked if CZ has ever commingled customer funds, and she said, and I quote, this is Becky Quick to CZ, "Have you ever taken clients' funds and done anything with them?" End quote. CZ did not directly answer that question. Instead, you know what he did? He ended up talking about Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame and his situation with FTX instead. Why wouldn't he just answer that? Those are at least four big things where CZ, he should, in fact, when you're asked like such an important question on live television, your first instinct should be, oh, hell no. No, of course, we've never commingled funds. We've never done anything like that. You don't change the topic. Are you kidding me? If he just answered these questions, especially that last one, he's just like, oh, of course we never commingled funds. No. I wouldn't be making this video. All you had to do was answer the damn questions. But four things, just four right there, where he's just not answering the question. You got to admit, that's not normal behavior, and that's not what we normally see from CZ. It doesn't mean that they're pulling an FTX, but is this not curious to anyone else? I think it's peculiar to most people. I mean, that seems to be the response that I'm seeing on Twitter. Like, most people are like, yeah, it's strange. Some people don't think it's strange, though, and that is strange to me. Like, if you think this behavior is normal, why? Have you watched him in other interviews? He is a direct, upfront human until right now, when he's getting asked these important, highly consequential questions. We're just supposed to not ask the questions? Well, of course we should. And I thought I'd highlight this also. This is my thread here, and Attorney Deaton jumped in. And so, but anyway, so here's what I tweeted out. I shared the video clip and I wrote, I am not asserting that Binance is insolvent or misrepresenting user funds. But I have to say this interview is alarming, not normal human behavior. CZ dodged multiple questions in this interview, resulting in host Becky Quick dramatically rolling her eyes. And Attorney Deaton responded and wrote, I've read that $10 billion has been withdrawn from Binance in the last week. I don't know if that number is accurate, but if it is, people need to stop saying it's another FTX because CZ has proven it isn't. I'm not saying to stop criticizing, but clearly it's not just like FTX if true. By the way, I'm not suggesting Moon Lambo was making that comparison. And I appreciate that too, and I agree with Attorney Deaton there. As I've been articulating throughout this video, I make pretty clear I share the same points, and I'm absolutely acknowledging on-chain analytics do not suggest that there's some sort of impropriety going on here. Which is why I got into all of that before saying, now what's up with CZ's behavior? There's a reason I did it the order that I did it. And so, but anyway, I responded to Attorney Deaton and I said, I agree, and I'm definitely not convinced that Binance is anything like FTX was. I'm only noting that CZ's behavior is very hard to justify/explain. He wouldn't give straight answers to questions that should be very simple to answer. I can't observe that and not wonder why. Yeah, so let's pause and note that, as far as I'm concerned, CZ put me in this situation. I can't just observe that and just be like, just not say anything, it's fine. Yeah, nothing to see here. No, there's something to see here. I don't know what, other than he's just behaving way out of the ordinary and obviously dodging what should be simple questions. I mean, it's hard to answer if you're guilty of something typically. That's what I would think. Like, these would be questions that would be very difficult for Sam Bankman-Fried to answer. Very difficult. But for CZ, I thought it should just be super duper easy, which is why this is strange to me. And I also wrote, when a CNBC host asked CZ why CZ won't have one of the big four firms audit Binance, he stated that many of them don't know how to audit crypto companies. He has to know that's not true if he looked into it. Coinbase is audited by Deloitte, one of the big four. And so obviously he has to know that. So it's a misdirection when he's like, I don't know, these firms, they don't really know how to audit. Well, then why are we even working with one of the firms, Mazars, which has now basically just disowned you? Like, can you explain that? Because you were just working with them. If they're not useful and they don't know how to do it, then what the hell were you doing? Can we apply logic here? It just doesn't make sense. This doesn't pass the smell test, folks. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't mean that there's something huge, disastrous going wrong. I mean, there could be, and we just don't know. But now I'm looking because this is weird. This is super duper weird. I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. So let me know what you all think. I'm just going to keep watching it. I don't think it's an FTX style scenario. But look, I'm a 39-year-old man. I have enough life experience to know that when people behave like this, when you just ask them direct questions, they won't directly answer you. There's a reason. I just don't know what the reason is. And maybe there's something not quite right with their books or something, maybe not even close to the scale of FTX. Maybe there's just something wrong to where, and I'm just speculating here, maybe there's something like to where one of the big four firms literally wouldn't take on Binance. Maybe they tried to get attention from one of the big four firms, which, I'm sure they talked to them just to, have a conversation at least because they're the largest cryptocurrency exchange on the planet by volume. But what if there is something a little bit off? Maybe it's not completely disastrous, and CZ doesn't even want that going out. And so now he's just pretending like you can't get a big four firm to rubber stamp what you're doing, which isn't true. You can get, if everything's fine, then you can. And so the fact that he's misdirecting like this is such a clear indication something's off. And again, it could be something that's not going to ruin people's lives, perhaps, but there's something, maybe it would ruin the reputation to some degree or harm to some degree the reputation of Binance. I don't know, because I don't know what it is. I just know that this is strange. Please tell me I'm not taking Looney Tune pills here. Drop a bunch of comments below. I need to hear from you guys. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.